I don't know too many people that will ever experience what I've been put through here. I hope not too many, but I know that because of how strategic and the effort that has gone into like this really horrific experience that I've been put through. Obviously, this has happened quite a bit before, where that because I am a way shower and it's my purpose in this world to experience situations, to go through certain situations, but he learns differently, and God uses all of us differently. And a big part of my purpose in this world, because I am so obedient and because I am so close with God through certain experiences, to be in those experiences. Other parts that I wouldn't otherwise have any real firsthand awareness of. And as I'm unattached to material things. Difficult too, because I'm talking to a group of people that are intentionally misaligned with me. Or is hearing this, at least a chunk of them, the ones that are stealing my data, like intentional, like this willful ignorance aligned with the people that probably would be able to receive the message. And when you have people that are intentionally trying to like look for something to trigger themselves, or look for something to like justify their behavior as opposed to taking accountability or just apologizing, it's very difficult to know how to navigate around that energy. And the thing is that a lot of people find themselves in that particular position, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, they might not find themselves in like the whole of this, cluster F that I've been forced to deal with, but that particular part right there, where you have people where there's such a intentional effort to misunderstand someone and not a real effective, like even a minimal effort to understand them. That's really hard. Because you can't expect other people to change who they are, or that with people who have a very large attachment to material things, material riches, superficiality, validation, whatever typically is happening in the kingdom of darkness, there's going to be an attachment to money. It's someone like myself, or hear me speak, or be trying to understand me, and because of their attachment, because of their poverty mindset. And see, most people also don't think that people that are attached to money, people that fancy things, they love big houses, and they love to be able to give to their family, love to be able to provide for people and all of that. Because they're so disillusioned in themselves, they might be triggered by hearing somebody like myself say, well, you have a poverty mindset. And they might immediately reject that or take offense to that, whatever it is, that they wouldn't be open to learning more about why my perspective would be that way. And this is, I think, a part of where a lot of the sort of willful ignorance comes in, and intentional misunderstanding. Because if somebody right there isn't willing to recognize their own spirit of offense and their own trigger, and acknowledge that there's something happening with them, if they're experiencing within themselves like a negative reaction to someone like me saying that to them, and then they usually typically will just run with a story with that, right? Like I'm saying, like money is evil, people with money are evil, it put themselves in competition with me, or feel like there's a difference between. It's like they create that difference when I wasn't even suggesting anything of the sort. and the thing is like, because I've had such lived experience, and I've had to travel through everything that I've gone through to arrive at the things that I speak on, my perspective is going to be different, but it's going to be without the spirit of judgment. And because I'm unattached to really anything besides God, I don't have any ulterior motive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not selling anybody anything. It really, I don't want to say that it doesn't matter to me if you're offended, but it's like, okay, well, you can take it or leave it. This was just an offering to you. It's like, I'm not gaining anything out of sharing this with you. I'm offering you a perspective. I'm not trying to, wheel and deal and sell you this. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, it's like, fine. It's fine if you don't want to believe me, if you don't want to even hear it. Cool. whatever story people create around it. And that's not true at all. That actually isn't true. It's actually the complete opposite of that. I do believe that people should be comfortable. I believe they should be able to have the freedom financially to live an abundant life and enjoy their family and be able to give to the people they want, be able to create the life that they want, whatever that looks like. If you want to have, a $5 million house or more, if you want to have 6 cars, like whatever it is that you want to have. Attachment to those things, though. You shouldn't need things to feel worthy. It's the attachment to money that is the root of all evil. It's not money that is evil. To guide people in this particular area and also share my perspective with this is because the only thing really that will pull people away from God, okay, obviously addictions do also, of sins that come down with it, but ultimately depend on money. People can look at money as like a tangible thing. And so if you have an attachment to money and it can sway you in your decision making, money is like the number one thing that will pull people away from their morals, away from integrity, away from honesty. Healing whatever it is around, poverty or a lack mindset or whatever it is that would have a door open to, the adversary to come in and see you as someone that they can manipulate. And quite frankly, the Jezebel spirit, the spirit of Leviathan, like they love people that are attached to money. Like they look for people that are attached to money. If you have a giant ego, even better. Like you're a prime target if you have people-pleasing tendencies and you have money. And you can just look out at the landscape of our culture and our society right now, and you can see this is happening everywhere you go. And see, because media is so, oh my gosh, it's so corrupt. It's so corrupt, and it's like unconsciously corrupt. The way that information is delivered and people that are wholly underqualified to be sharing information, and there's information through, not great resources that is just downright defamatory and slanderous. It's not fact-based at all. It really is gossip in that way. And we know gossip is witchcraft. You take something like where at the root of it was likely something having to do with money. And most voodoo in our culture, most black magic in our culture, ultimately it usually comes down to money. The adversary is way to corrupt an environment. It is through this poverty mindset. It is through ego. It is through the ability to be able to manipulate around money. Like, for example, the family court. There used to be a time, and I'm not sure what happened here, especially for people that aren't married. And I had to have a front row seat to this corrupt, weirdo, fake witchcraft trial bullshit, because Nick was making it all about money, which was very strange to me, that was even a conversation within the family court, because child support, and maybe this isn't like this everywhere, but in Ohio, child support and family court are two separate entities. Also, Nick's Ernie, then she was asking me for discovery around my financials and stuff like that, it's like, me and Nick were never married. I don't have to provide you any of that. And also, he filed for emergency custody, so that would mean that you already have that information. How does he have emergency custody if you don't already have that information? And also, no, you're not getting that information because this isn't an appropriate place for it. This was completely corrupt. Again, because I wasn't even served a court date for the first court date, I could tell pretty much right away that they already knew what the ending was going to be. This was all planned and plotted out. Now, why Judge Thomas O'Malley from Cuyahoga County would be so bold, literally so bold, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. But again, likely it has something to do with an attachment to money. Infiltrate a father. Infiltrate a family court, an actual court, being corrupted because everybody has an attachment to money. Because the whole thing ultimately was to be able to secure child support and continue to drive a narrative around me that was wholeheartedly a lie. There no facts whatsoever that Nick could get child support to get access to money and collaborate with this group. It's just extremely disheartening to see how many people are in such a lack and poverty mindset that even from the point of dating, from career choices, the ability to follow your destined path, but also like a person's even perception of themselves, it affects every part of humanity, and as individuals, as families, communities, it affects people so profoundly. Even from the start of forming a relationship, one of the things that I kind of became aware of through this experience as well is like transactional relationship thing now that's happening. I don't get it, but like this intentional effort to use marriage contracts and relationships in an effort to balance finances or whatever. I don't know. And even the conversations around prenuptial agreements and things like that, none of that makes any sense to me. Exploitation of marriage. It's such an exploitation of love, of family. And what that being what it is, what is even more shocking to me is that people that know that they're investing into something based on like whatever the financial payoff is going to be. Like where money and thing or a ring, like whatever it is, it's just like there's so much effort around the glamorizing show and performance for everybody, and then the big house. It's like everybody is living for everybody else. Like everybody is in competition with each other, and because they've put so much effort into that, it makes letting it go even harder. So it's like it really just amplifies, tightens their grip on money. And obviously power's pretty much the same thing. In the eyes of people who are attached to money, power is money to them. Broader theme of fraud and corruption, USAID and the Social Security fraud, and it's like the attachment to money and power. It really is the cliff that people end up falling off of like every single time, because it's a constant chase for it. It's more money, more problems. So poverty mindset, and the adversary has that grip on them. It feels impossible to break that chain, to escape that mindset. Unfortunately, you do have to sacrifice to be able to appreciate what is truly important, to realize what it is that actually matters to you specifically, and have the boundaries that you need to have you be able to identify what you were doing wrong in your environment. So if you're staying at a job for longer than you should, most people only do that because of finances. How will they support themselves? How will they support their family? Work themselves sick because they have so many people they have to provide for and they're responsible for, right? And so they'll sacrifice their own physical health. But then when you look at the actual effort to intentionally exploit people through black magic, voodoo, witchcraft, Satanism, Luciferianism, religious and spiritual abuse and manipulation, and now we have the MLMs. Most of them won't last long, but that whole structure infiltrating to monetize the word of God and the name of God and healing and all of that. And then mega churches and prosperity gospels doing it too. And it's like, where is there just that space of like peace and community and creativity and integrity and honesty and just healing and unconditionally loving each other and that selfless service? And it really starts with one person. This doesn't mean that you can't be wealthy, that you can't be comfortable. As a matter of fact, most people that are truly blessed and anointed are wealthy. But it doesn't have to be through corruption. But when you start having the justice system, particularly your government agencies, I mean, with such wide corruption, that's when you're going to have people coming away from or looking at situations like that and saying, like, the devil has control of Minnesota, the devil has control of Ohio. When you have whole ass communities that are infiltrated to risk their jobs, risk their families' well-being, like risk really everything, so they can participate in gang stalking, so they can participate in extortion, $5,000 to follow a woman around, and that part of it is a principality, because it takes the control of all of those people to be able to sacrifice someone, essentially. Now, obviously, I am aware that God aligned me to this situation, because you can't sacrifice me. I belong to God. Are you stupid? Attached. Like, I had already healed my poverty mindset and my lack mindset. You can't observe, as like from a civilian standpoint, you can't observe all of this fraud through government agencies: marriage fraud, deed fraud, land fraud, SNAP fraud, like all of these programs, PPP loans, all of these programs. Every single one of these cases of fraud had to be approved by somebody who worked for the government. Like, somebody who was an agent of the government had to approve this or not do their job. But then they want to limit the benefits to the people who weren't participating in fraud. So somebody that would be getting a SNAP. So what is that going to do? That is going to further drive the poverty to the people that actually need that weren't committing fraud. When the fraud itself wouldn't have been able to even take place if there wasn't a government agent not doing their job. A court clerk, a judge, a mayor. Every single one of those cases of fraud required somebody not doing their job, but they were a government agent. So why would you take away the benefits to the people that actually need it? Because all that's going to do is further drive the poverty. It's also going to further drive up the cost of living. It's going to cause more homelessness. It's going to cause all of that. So that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. To have those people who are then themselves in a lack mindset, a poverty mindset, and more willing to take risks. Like, be willing to be somebody who would gang stalk somebody for $5,000 if they can't pay their mortgage. Using all of the resources for the FBI to have all of these, project this or project that on human moving. If you're not addressing an economy that likely leads people into human moving. I mean, human moving and people being in SMEGS work and sexual exploitation. It's like, I don't know where people are thinking that people end up in those positions. Like, they don't do that for funsies, like the vast majority of people are not teenage runaways that get sucked into that, right? Because I just had a whole group of people who consider themselves elite exposing me to potentially being a part of a human moving network, and the Department of Justice actually not even doing anything. And I went to the FBI 4 times, and Lord only knows what's happening to my 11-year-old child right now, or Lord only knows what the intention would be for my 19-year-old daughter. I can't, if my daughter doesn't respond to a text within 15 minutes, I'm like kind of losing my mind, because I know what's happening in the environment. Like, why should I be forced to live like that? That started because of government workers not doing their job. That's how that started. It was the intentional effort to exile me or sacrifice me, because all of these people were getting money out of it through fraud. But they all were government workers. Being able to weaponize the legal system through your deep state or your shadow government, being able to weaponize the financial system, because, again, these rodents are still holding on to my money and my property. Like, how do you get away with, like, holding somebody else's money? How does that happen for this length of time? Like, a week before Christmas, too. Like, I've already been going through this for years and years and years. It's like, and then the criminals are like all over that. We have people that are committing crimes or like doing weirdo shit on social media so they can turn around and do a lawsuit. They're doing that because both parties are getting a cut of that money. Duh. Starts with the corruption, because if people understood that you don't have to have that level of attachment to money, if there was more procedures and policies in place at the root, then you wouldn't have to worry about those things. You feel me? It's like a balance. And places that I went to seek advocacy, if any one of them would have done their job, Even years ago, I was collecting unemployment and I had fraud on my unemployment. I had to go like 8 weeks. And, that's not free money. That was for me working for 15 years. That's insurance you pay into to be able to collect unemployment. Did I get compensated? Did they pay my late fees on my bills? And from what I understand, that was an insider that committed that fraud. Yes, you can sit there all butthurt about it and, bent out of shape. But like when I also already have a higher perspective to be able to understand like what the intentional effort was here. And I did long before I even left the orchard. I had that perspective. I mean, you're intentionally hacking someone and blocking their data, putting cyber jammers in, like posting people up in their neighborhood, very obvious. And the only thing that you can do is continue to seek the resources that you can, continue to try to troubleshoot, stay above water the best you can. That's why, like, when people were trying to gaslight me, like my brother Silvio and stuff, it's like, dude, like, you're not actually even doing anything to help me. So what the hell would your opinion even matter here? Like, the lack of compassion and empathy made it very obvious. Demonstrate that they are putting everything that themselves, like their whole decision making is based on my brother Silvio saying to me, this changed our relationship forever. When he tried to gaslight me to the point of saying that I'm not connected to God or the universe because I was being stalked, because I was being stolen from. Like, this person just had a front row seat because he's one of the rare people that I was staying connected to and I saw as like a truth teller. Like, I really trusted and respected my brother in terms of being able to tell me the truth. And, I just really put a lot of weight behind the things that he said. But like when he said that to me, it's like, what? And you have to observe that. And what's crazy is because my family never actually took the time to get to know me, like, whatsoever, and they also don't have any self-awareness, they wouldn't have been able to observe communicating with them and on the holidays and stuff, and I don't even comment in the group chats when they're trying to plan around, holidays or birthdays or whatever, which most of the time I actually did. If I was going to be able to come, or even if I wasn't, sometimes I don't know if I'm not going to be able to, because that's just the way that I live my life. It's like, if you don't get that, I don't know what to tell you. If that's not okay with you, I also don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't owe anybody shit. Like, I've made it to all of their very important events, and even when their children were little, I went out of my way to contribute to them being able to live their life, them being able to travel, them being able to work when watching their children, helping them care for their children as well. But when I noticed there was like, whatever I would do in response even wasn't good enough. So like the next message, in between these two messages, I don't remember like what the get together was or whatever, but my children were there. Well, then my children reported to me the gossiping that was happening about me while I wasn't there, and how it made them uncomfortable. First of all, the fact that people would even talk about another adult while their parent isn't there is like so completely inappropriate. But it's like also like, I trusted my family. I trusted people to not be dogging me out or devaluing me, defaming me, gossiping about me when I'm not there. Like, I trust you with my children. I trust that you're going to behave in a mature way, behave like adults. Because my children are actually respectful. Because my children don't want to be put in a position of being uncomfortable. They don't actually need to say anything. Like, people think, oh, well, the kids didn't actually say anything. It's like, they forget that there's actually, like, that person's children are in the room. And it's like, no, my kids actually are respectful. They're not going to engage in that with you. Just because they don't say anything to you, that's a reflection of me as a mother. Because my children aren't being triggered by that. They're not engaging in that childish bullshit, that like low-key passive-aggressive bullying that my family has adopted that mindset, right? Because their mom is a curse breaker. You can't say the same for their children. No offense to my nieces or nephews. It's actually not your fault. At the next like sort of a thing that they were having together, I sent a text message about gossiping. And it was really from my heart. It was really trying to be vulnerable and honest with all of them. Well, then my brother Silvio comes back to me and tells me that it wasn't received this way. It was received this way, like in a very negative, sort of catty way. And I followed up with a couple of other people that were on that group chat, sort of clarify any confusion. Like, when Silvio came back and said that, like, people didn't get that, that's not how it was received, and it's like, you just got done asking me to communicate, and here I am doing that, and now guilt me or like shame me for the way that I communicated, when it was very respectful. It was from my heart, and I was being vulnerable. So to like change the way I communicate so it's comfortable for you. When I know my brother Silvio wouldn't do that. Like, if he told Silvio he had to adjust the way he communicates to make other people feel better, he would tell them to fuck off, right? But when he says that to somebody else, he expects them to just comply. So I don't need to tell him to fuck off. I'm not going to have that level of disrespect. But what I will do is just withdraw all of my energy. But I did follow up with a couple of other people that were on that group chat just to see if what he was reporting was accurate. And it in fact was not, actually. At least for the two people that were also on that group chat that I followed up with, they did not feel the same way. They actually thought it was very eloquently put text message, and they received it completely, and they actually were very glad that I said it, and both of them actually said that it was something that needed to be said. And it's unfortunate that Silvio didn't feel that way. As you can see, the picture for me is being painted of like, why are you choosing to be willfully ignorant, show no compassion, show no empathy? Like, what is going on here with you weirdos, right? Well, then I noticed the next conversation that I had with a couple of them, the intentional effort to try to trigger me. I would tell them specifically, please do not discuss my personal information with our mother. It is very obvious right now that she is on some bullshit, and I'm not going to deal with it. So in order for you and I to continue having conversations, I'm asking you to respect my boundaries, and what we talk about needs to stay between you and I, right? Well, then my brother Silvio reports to me that my mom is like, he literally went out of his way to tell me this, right? He went out of his way to actually message me first and tell me this, that my mother was going around telling people that I wasn't driving my daughter to school. Now, we already know that's not true. My daughter was actually really going down the wrong path, and that weighed very heavy on my decision to move away from veterinary medicine and to start building my own business and building my life around it so that like my children didn't have to be on the back burner anymore. And again, I knew I was going to have to make sacrifices, and I knew people were going to have opinions, but like, why do I give a fuck? That's the funny thing about my family. Like, none of these people give a fuck about other people's opinions, but they expect their opinion to be like literal fact and law in everybody else's life. Like, go sit the fuck down. Like, go sit the fuck down. It's like, what? Your audacity and hypocrisy is so extreme. It's just gross. It's gross. Ew. Ew, 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 ew. Once I put the boundary down with my mother, where she wasn't enabling my daughter and also like digging in and invading my home, my privacy, making up lies, slandering me, trying to defame me, okay? Like all of this bullshit. Once that boundary was there, my kids, everything in the environment started to just naturally come into alignment with me. My kids, all of us, we were just completely in alignment. My daughter became a candidate for the National Honor Society during that time when my mother wasn't allowed to have any contact with her and was not able to enable her, right? Because a guardian ad litem and a judge upheld that decision, telling her that my boundaries were completely appropriate and she needed to learn to respect them. And if she chose to keep coming to my house and trying to take my daughter out or disrespect me or overstep boundaries, she would be arrested and there would be a restraining order put on her. Did that stop her? No, it did not. Unfortunately, it did not. And so when my mom started this whole bullshit again, right around, it's like the pattern is so obvious here. It was just like, it's like, what do you people think you're even concealing at this point? You look stupid. You sound stupid. So when my mom's going around lying to people, saying that I'm not driving my daughter to school, and I asked my daughter right in front of my mother, like, did you tell her that? And she said, no, I didn't tell her that. I don't know where she came up with that. And I don't know why she's telling people that. So now I know my mom is lying to people and also has intention. Because why, old lady, are you coming up with some kind of random bullshit like that, going around spreading lies like that? That's false. That's not true. That is a damaging lie you're going around and spreading. Why would anybody want a person like that is coming for you as a mother? I take that very personally because you're trying to affect my standing as a mother. And then when I know you're collaborating with my son's dad and he's planning an intentional effort to file for emergency custody so all of you sick fucking freaks can continue to eat off my plate. I realize, like, I just got done asking my brother not to be communicating with my mother about me or my kids or my family. Like, I can't stay in communication with you if you're going to continue to do that. And he agreed to that. Once I came into like really full awareness, my dad was all over it, y'all. My dad was all over this. Like, when people hear the full story, it's like there is no way that God could not have been all up in this, and my dad wouldn't have been all up in this, because the way that everything, just the timing. I haven't seen my Uncle Jim, my dad's only living sibling, okay? When I hadn't seen him in a long, long time. And shortly after this, I ran into him at a coffee shop. And so we've had a series of conversations since that point, and I've been really glad to have those conversations with him. But either knowingly or unknowingly, my Uncle Jim put me onto some information. When I tell you, people that are being shady, okay, when liars are trying to get away with something here, okay, it's like very slight, subconscious consistencies in the way that they will try to explain something. It is like crazy. And it's like what? It's like, I didn't even know why I had that awareness. I was like, holy shitballs. Like, you can't unsee it. Like, you can't look away from it. It's like, okay, there's no possible way, unless this was like a scripted effort to conceal and to be liars, to be frauds, to be thieves, to be disgusting piece of shit bastards. Evil, truly evil, nasty, filthy freaks. It's like, because I was unattached and already healed before they even started plotting this, and like, you know, this last go around, like I said, this has been going on for a long time, but this last, very obvious, very dumb, very, very dumb, because had they not done this, they might have gotten away with what they already did before. But it was this last part and how aggressive they went with it. But also because none of them, not a single one of them, ever took the time to honor my healing or honor the miracle and the glory of God in my life. Because none of them could set their ego down for 10 seconds and honor me as being a curse breaker, while all of our ancestors were actually celebrating me and still are celebrating me and protecting me heavily at this time. Because none of them could honor me, respect me, see me, make an intentional effort to understand me. If for nothing else, respect the grit and the strength it has taken to get through my life, because, well, my mother's been trying to sacrifice me my whole life, but also most of the time that I had struggle in my life wasn't because I was a fucking deadbeat. Excuse my language. There's just certain times that fuck is appropriate when we're talking about these things. I'm not somebody who fell into addiction. I'm not somebody who was a fraud, a criminal, like all of you, who got married for money, like some of you. Somebody who cheated on my spouse, like some of you. I'm not somebody who abandoned their kids, like some of you. I'm not somebody who had a ton of extramarital affairs, like most of you. But see, you can't actually acknowledge that. Why is that so hard? Why was that so hard? I'm not upset about it. I'm healed from it. Feel alone. It doesn't really matter what people think of you or their opinions. Like, okay, no, like I already did this all on my own. So like your opinion doesn't really hold much weight here. I already did it. So I look at things through the way that God wants me to see things. When you truly have a mind of God, which the lack of complete faith here and obviously like closed hearts, because my family my brother Carmen and my mother, like the way that they talk about God is like not how they move about God in their life. Sorry, you don't know that your sister could potentially be being human moved while you're actually building a whole other home, and you just moved into a very large home yourself, and you and your wife have a pretty lucrative position, and you allow a family member to not have a place to live because you have an agenda. You have an agenda, right? Even if you can't admit that, we now know that there was definitely an agenda. You don't do that if you have an open heart. If you have a heart of God, if you have a mind of God, you don't do that. That wouldn't happen. And see, people looking in, because they were going so hard to create this narrative around me, and because my mother wants to hold this opinion because she's being held accountable by someone, that means something about me. No, it means that I'm holding you accountable, and you don't like that. And you thought that you could shut me up instead of you being held accountable. And that's not going to work either, because I have a mind and a heart of God. And it was God, though, that allowed for me to have whatever information I needed to have, because but for them trying to sacrifice me, I wouldn't have been in that coffee shop to be able to cross paths with my Uncle Jim. You know what I'm saying? And but for me being here, having to be patient and wait, but for them destroying my vehicle, intercepting and hacking all of my bank accounts, cleaning out all of my money, holding back my money from me, but for me having to keep the people around me safe, having to limit my connections with other people because I don't want these sick freak Satan worshiping monsters to target them too. It's like, but for all of them doing that ultimately was what made me the wealthiest. And this is what I try to teach people. It was my unattachment for the need for validation, me giving zero fucks whatsoever about what anybody has to say about me. Like, I truly, genuinely do not give a fuck. Like, to the deepest level of my soul, I do not care. I really don't. The audacity of these fucking dudes, man. You haven't done a damn thing for me. You really haven't. Like, you're not providing for me. You're not paying my damn bills. What the fuck? No. Taking accountability and communicating like a normal person, then it's like, okay, let me just destroy your life. Because I rejected you, let me destroy your life. Like, I don't know what the fucking point, like, I don't know what all of you are waiting on here. I really just genuinely don't know. I'm sure you at one point were waiting for me to die, but that's not going to happen. And I'm not going to jail. So why not just release my money? Right? It's like, why should an 11-year-old have to spend another holiday without his mom and his sister? Because all of you want to continue to be criminals. Because you're not coming anywhere near me. Until everything of mine is returned to me, none of you will get close to me. And I won't want you to get close to me. It's like, what? No, you're not going to pull this little and give you a breadcrumb of your own money. No, you're going to take accountability. You're going to return my shit. My child's going to be returned to me. And all of that shit is at least verbally and contractually going to get reversed. And then we can talk about healing and moving forward. That's how that's going to work. If you come anywhere near me before that happens, you will be very embarrassed and very hurt probably. And I would recommend that the justice system probably get on this. Like, I really do. Because now there actually is a bunch of other eyes on this situation. And they're also noticing the justice system and the NSA not doing their job. So, and the Department of Justice, the FBI. Like, informing me when you know my communication is being intercepted. Like, you can't just send me some shit in the mail. You can't send me an email. You can't send me a text or a phone call when somebody's intercepting my data. Intercepting my USPS. That's not going to work. That's not going to be an excuse. And now that I can prove that that's happening, if a judge or anybody else continues to go through with any kind of hearings or anything like that, makes any kind of decisions when I know you're watching me right now. So you're hearing what I'm saying to you. And I've also communicated this to the FBI. I'll continue to communicate it to the FBI so that I can document that I reported these things that were not addressed. So you might want to be following up. Just saying.